For the Christian, reading our Bibles is our life. It's how we know God. That's how we commune with God. It's the way that we grow in grace. The Emmaus Conference is devoted to reading Scripture in a Christ-centered way. It's all important that we read the Scriptures correctly. The Emmaus Conference is devoted to reading the whole Bible as Christian Scripture. Too often, Christians are told that they're limited in their reading of Scripture, that if they want to find Jesus or if they want to read about Jesus, they're limited to the four Gospels or to a certain section of the New Testament. The reality is that all sorts of books have been written to learn about Christ. There are Christological books where we can learn about Christology. There are books that focus on the chronology of Jesus' life, to focus on the span of his ministry. But too often those kind of books are turned into small systematic theologies where certain proof texts are brought in to supplement the life of Christ. But more than that, we need to realize that the whole Bible is an accessible book on Christ. The whole Bible is a book about Christ, and Christology, properly understood, is derived from all of Scripture, not just from four books of the New Testament. The truth is that Jesus taught us how to read the whole Bible. In Luke chapter 24, he taught his disciples on the road to Emmaus that all of Scripture was about him, that everything that he had done was in fulfillment to the Old Testament, and that if they would go back to the Old Testament and read the pages of Scripture with a Christ-centered perspective, then they would find him in every aspect of the Old Testament, whether it's the law or the Psalms or the prophets. The volume of the book was written of him. This year at the Emmaus Conference, we're going to be looking at these Christ-centered themes. We're going to go into the Old Testament with Christ-centered lenses, and newfound vistas will emerge and appear to us as we consider Christ from every aspect of the Old Testament. I really can't think of another conference quite like this that's focused on the most important thing in all of Christianity, Christ. Our hope and our prayer is that as you attend this conference, you will be equipped to go into all of Scripture and see how Christ emerges virtually from every page. Please consider joining us this year for the Emmaus Conference. We hope that it will be a time for you to be encouraged, to be challenged, to be edified, and most of all, that it will be a time for you and your family to attend a conference that above everything is centered upon the glory and the majesty of Jesus Christ.